So obviously now with this next major update coming out and the American FA-18E Super Hornet getting access to the AIM-120D, it is no longer going to be in that criteria of being basically in a spot where it doesn't have anything to offer and actually will have something to offer, and that being long-range air-to-air missiles. Now, however, I did want to note something that I find a little interesting, is when is Gaijin going to add the AIM-174? Obviously, the AIM-174 is the most newest addition to the United States Navy outside of the AIM-260. It is a very, very advanced air-to-air missile. This is basically a heavily modified SM-6 surface-to-air missile, and the SM-6 is a highly capable missile alone for air defense or for anything you really need it to do, and then making it an air-to-air missile is just devastating. Now, realistically speaking, I actually do think Gaijin will add the AIM-174 at some point. I do not think it'll be added, like people have said, like it's going to be modeled as realistically as possible. That's just not going to happen. But Russia has access to something like the R-37M. Gaijin's going to give the FA-18E, or maybe even the FA-18F, access to the AIM-174B Gunslinger. Now, what this missile will be, it's going to basically be 4 ginormous telephone poles that you can lob the entire map range and just kind of hope they kill your opponent. Now, obviously, what Gaijin's probably going to end up doing, in my opinion, is they're going to make it where the AIM-174B has great range, great top speed, but it's going to be very notchable. So if you know it's coming after you and you notch, you're going to be able to defeat it. I think we actually, realistically speaking, could see the AIM-174 coming when we see 5th generation aircraft. I could see Gaijin deciding that an FA-18E or FA-18F with the AIM-174B and AIM-120Ds is something that can go toe-to-toe with something like the C-57 Felon in terms of BVR. And honestly speaking, that's a very fair enough guess on Gaijin's part. If they're going to give 4th gen and 4.5 generation aircraft access to absurd air-to-air missiles, the AIM-174B does kind of fall into that criteria of they can just add it however they want it to act. This isn't like a missile that has had, 2-3 decades of testing and service. This is a brand new missile. Now, we can take, obviously, known information about the SM-6 and just kind of go off of that. The AIM-174B is, like we stated already, a modified SM-6. So obviously, the missile itself is going to have a lot of range, it's going to be incredibly fast, but it's obviously, on top of that, going to be probably not as maneuverable. This, however, is a missile that is designed on the lessons learned from the Phoenix. If you guys are not too familiar with Phoenix, it was originally meant to only be able to intercept bombers. And the AIM-174, the Gunslinger, is made on the thought process of being able to intercept fighters at long ranges, AWACS is at long ranges, even, other ballistic missiles at long ranges. This missile isn't necessarily made to go intercept hundreds of, wave after wave of Tu-95 bombers. It's made to counter MiG-35s, MiG-31s, Su-35s, Su-57s, A-50 AWACS, tankers. There's so many different options. It's basically made to be an incredibly long-range missile. And keep in mind, even if this missile isn't actually absurdly great, it's going to be good in the terms of Warthunder. As the fact is, hey, you're going up against Super Hornets, and now you have all these gunslinger missiles launched at you right away, and you're defensive. This now lets them close the gap, and now their AIM-120Ds are going to be even more effective. And you're slow, and you're notched out, and they're able to relaunch on you. It just allows, whoever's playing the aircraft to be way more aggressive. Now, I do know that a lot of players are going to probably disagree and say we're not going to see the AIM-174, and they might be right. It could very easily go either way. Personally, I think the missile actually makes a lot of sense in the future, especially if they're going to add the R-37M for the Russians at some point, and especially if their plan is to just give a bunch of 4.5 generation, 4th gen fighters some crazy active radar homing missiles. the A174B suddenly feels like a much more viable option. And with the A120D now arriving for the Super Hornet, I don't say that the Super Hornet is in air quote desperate need for a new air-to-air missile. I'm just saying that at some point, I think the A174B Gunslinger missile could be a crazy cool feature for the game. Obviously, I don't think it should come right now. That might be a little bit too broken. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comments. If you guys are not already subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.